Welcome back to episode 5 of the Purpose Playbook. Really excited today to be joined by Mark Balaam. I met Mark about a year ago.
Yeah, probably more than that now, yeah.
Yeah, and he's done some really incredible stuff, so looking forward to hearing his story. And I've bought a new plant today for the podcast, so that's excellent. So, Mark, hi, welcome.
Welcome, thank you.
Tell us a bit about yourself, tell us a bit about your life, your business, everything you've done sort of from start up until now.
All right, it's quite a journey, I'll try and be brief. I'm 54 years old. I spent predominantly most of my time sort of looking at technology-led companies. I started off at Marconi's as an apprentice many moons ago, moved into sort of worldwide global telecommunications, and then about 25 years ago set up my first business, which was predominantly working with police forces, government and security service, making sure that we use technology to make sure that the right information went to the right people at the right time to make the right decisions. And as you can imagine, with this world that we live in, with terrorist threats and major crime, it's done some incredible things. And we spent a number of years sort of working with, sort of high-end organisations in there, and it's exposed me to the big bad world that we all live in now.
Yeah, I can imagine you've had a busy few years.
Very busy, very busy, but some great successes as well.
So we obviously met. I was introduced to you by a friend of ours who'd done some work at your house. Yeah. So tell us a little bit about after that business was started. You've obviously gone in. I know it's really personal to you, this business. Yeah. Tell us a bit about what you've started more recently.
I think, working in the toxic environment, I would say, and the challenging and risk adverse environments that working with some of the organisations I have. I started as a father of 2 daughters, one's 16, one's 14 now. When the first one moved into secondary school, I started to see that the big bad world that I'd been working in for 25 years was the world that they're going to be in now in secondary school. It's very adult content. They're exposed to all of the threats and challenges that I saw every day in my day-to-day work. But I looked around and those people wasn't doing what we needed them to do. Yeah, and I felt I've got the skills, I've got the ability to try and do something myself. So Imabi was born. Yeah, and the inspiration around Imabi is very much my 2 girls growing up in a safer kind of world, giving them the tools as a father I would want them to do, but looking wider to then say, this is actually impacting every single person, not just children, but adults as well. Yeah.
So you spoke a little bit there about a world that's tough for your daughters to grow up in, right? So was there any particular thing that you wanted to change, or from your experiences in the past working with police forces and stuff like that people weren't helping with? Was there anything that you felt you could make a real difference in?
A big part is around prevention. A lot of the stuff that we've done is dealing with the aftermath of something going on, and then making sure that people have got the right information to then control that situation. But if you try and create behavioural and societal change in the first place, you start to prevent these things happening. You have a safer community, safer environment in there. And you have people that know what's right and wrong, from their own actions to other people, but also people understanding when there's things that they can report and help. For example, we see so many people that don't know that it's something that they can get help with. Yeah. So they suffer in silence.
Yeah, I think that's the beauty. I mean, we've just had a chat now, and we had a chat a little while ago. I think the beauty of what you do is you're trying to partner and link with lots of different organisations to spread the word of help being there. Yeah. And it's such a big thing.
Yeah, it's amplifying what other people are doing. If you look at Imabi as the sort of the umbrella that's over a number of different organisations that are doing great and incredible things on a day-to-day basis, but they don't have a voice sometimes. They can only reach the communities and the people that they reach individually. What we're looking to do is bring all of those together in one place. And not only does Imabi provide various different services and features to keep people safe and get them the help when they need it, it's amplified and reinforced when you start working with some of these incredible organisations out there that are doing some fantastic work.
Yeah, it's interesting because me and Rich spoke on the podcast a few weeks ago about local communities and how we had a guest on whose local community really backed what she was doing. What you're actually trying to do is spread that nationally to all these good people, good companies, good charities, good organisations doing good things to help people.
Yeah.
So I love the name. Give me a bit of a brief on the name, because that was one thing that got me with you. Is it's a very personable name.
Yes.
It.
I remember when we was coming up with this, I was sitting at the dining room table, and we're thinking, what can we call this? What can we call this? And straight in front of me was my two girls, Imogen and Abigail. Yeah. Put the two things together, Imabi. It was seamless in there, yeah. So, and it's very personal, and even to the point when we was creating the logo, the two dots on the eyes, for example, are the two girls' heads facing each other and things like that. So there's always that connection for me to make it real as to why am I doing this? And every day I look at my two girls and go, that's why I'm doing this. And every family's got exactly the same setup with either their own children or their relatives or their partners. Everyone's got someone that they care about.
Yeah, 100%. I think the thing that got me with you, Mark, is that you didn't need to do this.
No.
Right? So this podcast is about good people doing good things. That's what we're trying to do in a world that's a bit rubbish at the moment. Yeah. You need good people, and what you're trying to do is incredible. So give me a bit of a breakdown about Imabi and how, I know you've got 7 different sections to Imabi. So give me a breakdown on what each of them sections look like.
All right. So what we wanted to do is we're all about creating an end-to-end solution. Yeah. So what it's not doing is trying to pick one thing and leave people wanting in there. And we wanted to make sure that we were factual, validated, that things were actionable, and it's personalised to you. So rather than going on to search engines and finding information that could be out of date, it could not be factual, we wanted to make sure that people trusted Imabi and everything in there. So we've got a suite of features on there, and they range between the ability to be able to report out to either your school or your business or across communities. And we've also partnered with Crime Stoppers, and they have a program called Fearless for the youth market. So reporting is a big element for us. We've got a suite of geo tools in there that allows you to share your journey, say when you've arrived safely. You know, it's a bit like digital equivalent to 3 rings to your mum in the old days, isn't it? We've got a Rescue Me feature in there, and we've got the ability for people within a family group to know when they've entered or left sort of home or school or work, for example. We've got a suite of educational guides that allows people to know what's right and wrong, and we're very much looking to partner and create branded content within there and some video guides. We've got a directory of support organisations and charities, so you can reach out and get help instantly when you need it. We've got a very powerful Your Voice tool, so it's making sure that the public have the ability to be able to have their voice heard in there. So we have a way of collecting that information and putting it into a very concise way that we can start to work with local organisations and businesses and local authorities on how to create community changes in there. And we've got a messaging service that we can reach out to people and give them real-time information. So there's a large repository of information. When you start to overlay the partners that we work with or the organisations that's taking on Imabi, it becomes very personalised to those organisations and individuals.
So tell me a bit about Imabi Community.
So Imabi Community is our not-for-profit organisation, and that's all about trying to create safeguarding and mental health within schools and safer communities in there. So we purposely set this up so we can work with local authorities and local businesses to make sure that we create change within their actual communities in there. So we want people to get behind us. We want people to start sponsoring schools so we can get into more state schools and academy schools in there where technology like this is cost prohibitive to them. But we can really get to amplify what people's views are on how to keep children safe within the schools and tackling, mental health, which is a massive issue at the moment.
So from a school perspective, I'm a school.
Yep.
What's the benefit for me as a school to get Imabi community within the school or Imabi in the school. So what would be my benefit as a head teacher or someone within the school? What the benefit does this give me getting Imabi into there?
Well, straight away, it gives all of the students and the teachers a voice in there. What we find is that a number of incidents are not being reported because behaviours have become normalised within the culture of a school. So, 90% of girls have experienced unwanted sexual images that's been sent to them or shown to them in there. They don't report it. Even my own daughters have come back and said, oh, that's just normal now, and it's not acceptable. And some of the behaviours that's going on is just being accepted now.
Yeah.
And they don't know what's right from wrong because what they see on the internet is now become normal to them in there. So now what we've given them is the ability to report very easily. They know what's right and wrong, and they can even report anonymously. So you can start to create trends as to is bullying happening at school gates at home time, for example.
Yeah.
Teachers can start to look at prevention mechanisms to stop bullying at school gates.
Sort of catch it at source.
Catch it at source, yeah. And the anonymous reporting side is also identifying inappropriate behaviours. So we've had a number of schools where we've actually had a paedophile teacher and some inappropriate behaviours from teaching staff that's then led into some prosecutions and obviously people leaving. So safeguarding those kids is really important. We've also had a number of children that there was a threat to life situations in there, and Imabi was their last point of call before they would have obviously done something very serious in there, and that's what we're very proud of, is that the mechanisms that are in place now for safeguarding always involve somebody going up to another person, another member of staff, and reporting this. And people that are feeling vulnerable, it's very hard for them to do. When they sit with their trusted device, which is often their phone, in a place that they feel comfortable, but they can reach out for help, it's an absolute game changer.
Yeah, and you've sort of told us about two sort of stories there. Is there any more that you can elaborate on that Imabi have had a difference in making within schools or communities that you could tell us?
It's the education part, because we've got a suite of guides in there that can reinforce the messages of what the schools are and their safeguarding processes already, and it amplifies, but it also brings new content from our partners, which are sort of subject matter information that they wouldn't normally get exposed to. And that allows this culture within a school that people, the students themselves are learning off each other through what they experience through Imabi. And even to the point where we've had schools where Imabi's become quite a theme around, if someone's acting inappropriately, they've said, I'm going to Imabi you, for example, and it's that sort of threat that there is something here that we won't tolerate this behaviour anymore. And
there's a massive gap
I
work in education. There's a massive gap in education, local authorities around this, and it's a really, really helpful tool. We spoke just briefly before around the cost saving. So you're talking about teachers. Teachers obviously is a profession at the moment that's really struggling to get teachers through the door. It could be because of these behaviours. It could be because things are normalised that shouldn't be. Tell us a bit around about, you were telling us about the savings that Imabi can help with longer term.
Like with everything, it's very important that there's a return on any investment. What we can't do is live in a world where everybody's constantly buying new stuff in the hope that it's going to be the magic pill. We've gone into this making sure that we look at how organisations are structured from their financial element, and any investment into Imabi is how this is returning back into the school. So if you're dealing with less incidents, for example, or you've got a very positive culture and you can attract talented teachers that are staying within your schools as well, you're attracting good students and you've got better behaviour, then obviously there's a return on investment, because you're not having to deal with the reputation of your school, your Ofsted rating, for example. If you're an independent school, obviously there's school fees that can be compromised if you don't have the right feedback on a school, for example. So it's there's a return on investment, but what there also is this link into local businesses as well. So, businesses work within a very sort of competitive market in there. And what we're looking to do is how can you get local businesses to start supporting their local schools and creating these safer environments in there. The return for them as well is that one day they're going to leave school and they might want to work for that organisation.
Yeah.
And you want someone to behave in your organisation as best as you can.
Yeah. At what point, so you talk about your daughters and they were the inspiration behind the start of it, right?
Yeah.
And keeping them safe. At what point did you think, because I'd imagine it started quite as a local thing, right? You wanted to keep your daughters safe. At what point did you realise I can do something here on a bigger scale?
The first school we went into is my daughter's school in there. And I think it was at the point where they said, yes, we want to adopt this. They loved the concept of what we were doing in there, and they were happy to trial this. And I think for us to be accepted within a safeguarding environment is an incredible feat in itself in there. But we could see, because it was all around not just my daughters, but for every person.
Yeah.
This is where we started to see the same types of behaviours is everywhere in society. From the minute you get up in the morning, and if you're probably not having breakfast together now, but you all wake up and you all get up and you all do different things throughout the day, and you navigate life in so many. You could be walking down the street, you could be going to school, you could be getting on public transport, pick your coffee up in there, have lunch, go to a restaurant, or as you're older, go to nightclubs and things.
Yeah.
The dynamic changes, and we wanted to make sure that we then created something that was for everyone, every day, everywhere. And as soon as we got that strap line there, we went, we've got to build something that's market agnostic, demographic agnostic. It's for the individual people across.
Yeah, I think that's it. Like my son and daughter are very different people, and I think what I took from what you give is something for both of them.
Yeah,
they can both use your tool.
Yeah,
and keep themselves safe.
Yeah.
What's been your biggest hurdles?
I would say it's people's ability to follow up on what we have some very good conversations with them. They buy into the whole Imabi concept in there, but I think a lot of organisations now are extremely busy. When we go into schools in there, it's very demanding. They've got 101 things to try and tackle in there, and so many pain points in there. It's how you get the time and attention for them to go, right, let's get this on board.
Yeah.
Which is why we've made our onboarding process very, very simple, and we can onboard within a matter of hours in there, and we try and take the any sort of burden on our clients away from them. But it's there's financial restrictions. There's lots of challenges within businesses. They're trying to stay surviving themselves in there, so they're always distracted by other things in there. But we're starting to get some good use cases in there. People are, through referrals, starting to see that this is a no-brainer for them to adopt.
Yeah, it's showing the benefit, I suppose, isn't it? So you talk about finances there. In terms of like funding cuts that are happening and stuff like that, and I know I'm talking a lot about schools, that's the industry I'm in, but this is across the country, there's been cuts. Yeah. How are you getting around that in terms of finances? If somebody's watching this now and are struggling with finances but want to get involved in it, how do they do that, and how are you as an organisation making that happen?
I think schools is always going to be a sort of a financial challenge within the state school and academy sector in there, and that's where we're seeking sort of local businesses to be able to sponsor a school. So definitely talk to us around how we can work with you to sponsor a number of schools. You can be included in there, obviously promoted that you're doing good within the community. But we're also selling to businesses and across sort of local authorities and communities. And for us, it's working with us on a business case for a return on investment in there. So if you're a business that, you're as good as the people that's working for you, and you're as good as your brand reputation and your customer satisfaction. And if people are leaving your business for whatever reason, that they could not report in, because there's certainly a culture of people not reporting, so they just leave in there. If you're not attracting talent into your organisation, this is reflected on your brand, your productivity, and your customer satisfaction. When you start to turn that into how much that's costing your business in there, it can run into hundreds of thousands of pounds and even millions. We do some work across the rail sector, for example. Every minute that a train is stopped runs into tens of thousands of pounds, and runs into millions of pounds a year in there. Yeah, if you can stop antisocial behaviour, trespassing, all types of incidents that we've all experienced on the trains, for example, it's saving that industry millions of pounds every year. So there's definitely benefits in working with Imabi.
Can you do anything for striking? I tried to get to London the other day. It was a nightmare.
No, we're not good at that. But what we can do is we provide real-time information. So if there is disruption to the networks in there, and we know that you're going into London, we can tell you that there's disruption, so you can give yourself longer to go in there. Yeah. And that's part of our sort of mental health work in there, is that if you're more prepared about the day, you're less likely to get angry and frustrated because you're late.
I was angry. There's a lot. There's a lot going on with that. Have you got a big team of people?
So we've got a core team of people, probably around about sort of 6 of us in there that are living and breathing Imabi every day. Yeah. And then we're supported by a number of different teams that are working in different sectors in there, just to try and sort of market ourselves and gather information. We've got people trying to look at who we can partner with, how we can start to run regional campaigns. We've just launched one for the Euros. For tackling violence against women and girls. We partnered with White Ribbon, which is an organisation for ending male violence against women in there. So that's a big piece of what we're doing. We're going to the Education Festival at Wellington College in a couple of weeks' time as well. So there's always lots of work to do on the peripherals of running a core business. But we've built the technology now. We're continuously innovating in there. For us, it's now marketing, promoting, working with partners, and obviously getting from the sales element.
Yeah, and I think as a podcast, that's we can hopefully bring some people to you. I know from conversations I've had with Rich this morning, like, it's such an incredible thing, and keeping children safe, keeping adults safe, and signposting into the right areas it's a big topic of conversation at the moment, right? We're talking to a lot of people who just don't know the help's out there or what's going on within their community. So you're giving them that. What's something surprised you've learnt about yourself over this journey?
I would say my compassionate side, I suppose, is the key to this. Spending the many years I have in business and in the thick of some quite toxic and challenging environments in there, meant that I was a businessman running a business and all the responsibilities that come with that in there. And I think it was, I certainly had a turn around when I turned 50, that and seeing my daughters as they going into secondary school, something changed, and you think there's more to just being a businessman that's got its head down and dealing with all the challenges that a business is. You've got to be able to create wider change. And it was just that, I look at myself now and think, what changed me? What changed me from having my head down, creating successes in there, to the point where I'd achieved those successes, and I wasn't then driven to create more successes and more successes. I was then satisfied with what I'd achieved, and then felt now's the time to start giving back. And that over the years, and as we start to hear more and more stories from individuals that have literally shared their experiences from 20 to 40 years ago, who have never told anyone else. But because of Imabi, they felt empowered to have a voice and tell us in there. You think, this isn't just for me or my girls. This is for every person that's never had a voice, has never been able to get the help in there. And every day there's something new where I just go, oh my God, that's why we exist in there.
Yeah, and I think from when I first met you, that's what I realised. I realised sort of the enthusiasm behind what you were doing and the compassion for everybody that's going through what they've been through without a voice.
Yeah.
So it's it's lovely, mate. What's the sort of next step for you with it?
It's continuously growing. I'd say we're probably the best kept secret out there. A couple of years ago, we partnered with British Transport Police, and they were tackling violence against women and girls on the rail network. And obviously there's like 5 million people a day travel on the train network on there. But what that really sort of identified is that, to get that up and running and looking at a national awareness on there is making sure that people realise that we don't just exist within the rail sector working with the police, but we are in schools, we are in across communities, we are tackling specifically violence against women and girls, and we've got an app for that. And we're in the workplace as well. So for us now, we created the technology platform that will continuously innovate on there. And it's important that, people recognise that we're considered a responsible use of tech and not some of the inappropriate tech that's out there and can be very harmful. But it's now building our partnerships and our sort of customer base in there. We've got an ambition to safeguard 1 million children by the end of 2025 in there. And the only way we're going to achieve that is for people to recognise what we're doing, get on board and help us get into more schools. And that will reach that 1 million children in there.
Yeah.
But we want to get into the workplace. We want to get into communities as well. So it's growing the brand and it's growing our customer base.
Yeah, I'd imagine it's quite hard to grow a brand when you're doing, like you said, you're doing so much.
Yeah.
I know what it's like. I've tried to start lots of different things, and how have you found that? Like trying to do the different bits of Imabi.
Yeah.
And like you're saying, like you've been working with the rail, but that isn't just what you do. It's sort of everything.
It's really hard because, I say, some of the challenges has been the resistance. It's just that people's capacity and ability to take what we've got, which they always say is amazing, and how they go away from their normal activities and their job roles to actually adopt this and do something different in there. So I learn every day, and what Imabi has exposed me to is that I've run businesses for many years. This is completely different.
Yeah.
We built a good product. We've done the business cases. We know that this is, for everybody, every day, everywhere in there. It's then how do you get that voice out there, and how do you get people to adopt Imabi? And for me, it's about people now. It's about winning the hearts and minds of like-minded people that are working within particular sectors in there, understand that what we've done is incredible in there, and are happy to put their name against it because it's Imabi, it's Mark Balaam. Who are they? Yeah. But when you start to work with like-minded people that really get what we're doing in there, we go in as a collective voice, and I think that's where we're going to create that societal change.
Just listening to you there, I think what's really mental about this society is you've started a business when you were younger that was really successful.
Yeah.
And you're doing something because they need the product. Now you're trying to do something good.
Yeah.
It's a lot harder.
Yeah.
When it should be easier.
Yeah. I think it's because I think it's part to do with that compassion can be a weakness as well within business in there, because just being passionate about what you're doing doesn't win the hearts and minds of organisations where you've got to go to the financial director for them to part with cash. You have to go back to the business cases. And this is where my experience over years has led me to how we create those business cases and where there's a return on investment. But I find that uncomfortable now, in a situation where you're trying to genuinely do good and change the lives of millions of people in there. But you have to have those cold-hearted conversations in there. And it's very hard to balance when I talk to an organisation that has people that just absolutely love what we're doing and want us on board. And we have to convince other parts of the business that just are less compassionate, shall we say, and are just looking at the business case element to that in there.
The funding.
Fortunately, we can win that, but it for me it's uncomfortable,
Yeah. If you were to give yourself a piece of advice, like your younger self, what would it be and why?
Pay attention at school more, probably. This might have been a bit easier. I've got my daughter now. She's just done business studies and she's finishing her exams. And she comes back with some of the things that she's learned in business studies. Yeah, and I'm thinking, right, yeah, she's going to be working with me over summer. But I mean, I would say education is a big part of this. In there is that. Not just on the academic side, but on life skills in there. It's understanding what's right and wrong. Try and make yourself a more sort of compassionate, respectable person. Be able to influence and empower people in there and make a difference to people's lives in there. As I've sort of learnt now is that you can make a difference to somebody's life just by being knowledgeable and then being empowered to have a voice to help that person in there or share your experiences with them in there. So, and it's forever learning, really. I mean, I think I wouldn't change anything from myself over the years because I think you have to learn day by day, and I'm still learning now. But I would say look at the world in a bigger picture in there. Try and be as knowledgeable as you possibly can, and try and look at others and help people. Don't live in your own bubble. Yeah. The world's a better place if you start helping other people.
Yeah, and I suppose it's about understanding someone else's struggles and why they are maybe behaving the way they are, or it's because they haven't had that voice. Yeah. Listen, I work in a couple of industries that would massively benefit from this. Me and Rich actually were having a conversation yesterday about this very thing, and people having a voice. Yeah. How do you get round the sort of GDPR side of things?
Obviously, because we're a technology company, that's had to be in the thick of it. So I remember the very first day when we were looking at the sort of the legalities, everything in there, my lawyer turned around and said, everything needs to be built around GDPR in there, yeah? And that's where we've made sure that all of the technology sits there, and we've got the privacies to make sure, obviously, the security of the data in there, but it's making sure that the individual has the right for their privacies in there, and they can decide, what they want to share, what information is stored, etc. So, for the geo, for example, we seek their permission to access their contacts in there, so they can share their location with others. But they have the right to be able to turn that on and off. So if for any given time you don't want to share your journey, you don't share it. And we've also built features in there where it's not continuously on. So you only share it for the journey that you want. It could be half hour, an hour, 2 hours, for example, in there. Yeah. But whenever we go into schools, we get lots of parents, and we've got a great big sheet of all of our GDPR compliance in there, so they can go through it. Obviously, we're registered with the Information Commissioner as well, so that we carry out regular audits in there. So it's very, very strict.
And sorry, I wasn't going to ask this, but just so that people can understand these bits. If I was an organisation, a care home, a business, do you get some kickback from businesses not wanting you to know the truth of what's going on in the workplace?
It's back to that trust in there. I mean, what we do is, obviously, with the commercial agreements in place, is that their information is their information. So we can provide reporting specifically to them that is actionable and they can work on. Now, obviously, there is a nervousness that we're getting access to information about the type of behaviours that's happening in there. What we do say to them is, I already know what's going on in your organisation. And the reason is because all you've got to do is open your eyes and look at the TV and read the papers in there. Every organisation, I can guarantee you, has some form of harmful behaviour and inappropriate cultures going on. I can very confidently say that, It's, do you know about it in there? And what we find is that a lot of organisations don't know about it until it's too late. Yeah. So you either have something that's exposed through whistleblowing in there, or reporting, or through the media in there. And what we're saying is, get ahead of the game. Yeah. We know that where there's individuals, there's going to be inappropriate behaviour going on. Yeah. Tackle it at source, embrace it, know that you've got it within your organisation, work with us, don't be embarrassed about it, but because it will come out, and it's a ticking time bomb now. You know, one day something's going to come out. It could be a legacy issue or a current issue in there. But we encourage every business, you know, not to be embarrassed about what's going on within their own organisation. Recognise that it is a problem of today's society in there. Embrace it, work with organisations like us, and get yourself into a better place.
Yeah, put a plan in place and get through it.
Yeah.
So, you know, obviously on this podcast, we like to pay it forward. So £500 today by Black Piano. They very kindly donated. So who would you like that £500 to go towards?
We would love that to go into Imabi community so we can get Imabi Inspire into a school and safeguard the children within a school.
Yeah, that's incredible. Listen, thanks so much for coming on. Thanks for your time.
Thanks for having me.
We really appreciate it. What an incredible tool you're trying to start, and so diverse. It can help so many people. So we will obviously put the links underneath the video and in the bio. Top man, thanks for coming on. Really appreciate it.
Appreciate it.
Rich will be joining me in a minute to talk about today's episode. So Rich joins us after episode 5. Mate, thanks so much for not wearing the green jacket.
No worries. We both came with the same jacket
this morning
today.
with the same jacket, so a bit of a problem. And
I want to start by saying I'm going to Imabi you, Brian.
you are, eh?
You know how people are threatening to Imabi you.
Yeah. You're going to Imabi
I'm
me.
going to Imabi you, yeah. I think you're
I'm going to
inappropriate,
Imabi
mate.
Gemma.
Yeah, Gemma's definitely getting Imabi.
Because
Where's the wheel that we spin and do funny things with? Anyone seen it?
no, she forgot the cards.
Oh dear. When she went on holiday, didn't she?
Yeah, she's been. I haven't seen her.
Unbelievable.
I haven't seen her.
Anyway.
And she was late this morning.
Yeah, I know. She's having an absolute shocker.
She'll be dying. Yeah, what an incredible business.
Oh, mate, another business with purpose. Whenever we speak to these people that are doing good things, they've always got a purpose. I say it every week. I love the fact that he's put a number on it. They want to safeguard 1 million children, which is so powerful. And it's funny when you write stuff down and you have that vision. It's, you know, you tend to hit it, you know.
I know I said it in the podcast, but what got me with him is I don't think he'll mind me saying he's a successful man. Like, he's done very well in business. When I first met him, the compassion around his daughters and his purpose behind doing this, and then sort of realising, he sort of said to me when I first met him, he had that light bulb moment when he was like, wow, like I can do this on a grander scale. The world needs more people like him.
100%. And you can see that this is going to be something huge just by looking at the partners. I mean, he's got Crime Stoppers, White Ribbon. He's into schools already. He mentioned a few other sort of fairly big names that he's working with. People are buying into it. I think for him, he just needs to get it out there far and wide. And the bigger this thing is, the more people it helps.
You know what really got me, Rich, is we sat yesterday and had a conversation about what's needed in sort of the industries we work in. He's doing it.
Yeah, let's go further. We basically had this business idea yesterday, didn't we?
Yeah, we did. And he's doing it. So what we will do is
Work
do
with
all
him.
we can to
Yeah,
help him, because I think that's one of the big things from the podcast is, like, you can do things on your own and be against other businesses or against other charities or doing the same sorts of things. But actually, if you all do it together, everybody's going to get more help, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I think so. I think the other thing that I noticed, actually, I think it's quite a brave business model. Most people would probably have just focused on schools, or I know he does a lot in rail. This is something for everyone, which means he's opened himself to an awful lot of work to get it to land. And I'd be more than happy to help him, you know, through my business or just personally, just to make sure that he has everything he needs to do it. Because, as I say, this could be huge, and it's such a good cause.
I think what really got me is when you're sort of selling something good, it's harder to get that sale over the line, right?
I know, but I've just said to him as he walked off, I don't know if I agree with it, you know. I've put here, it's interesting that he struggles balancing the doing good with the commercial, and that he for whatever reason he sometimes might be in that room and he's struggling to help to get it to land. But I've had the opposite experience, particularly with Story Group. I think I feel like it's pushing on an open door. And so there's, I don't know, I think there's some stuff that we can do to really help him, because I think it's a no-brainer, particularly looking at the case studies he's got with some of the schools. The fact that we've got normalized behavior, things like sexual images, is scary, right? But this is doing an awful lot to prevent stuff like that. They're even finding teachers that are doing terrible things that wouldn't have been found before. Why wouldn't a school adopt this? I think we just need to make sure that as many of them know about it as possible.
And I don't know about you, but during that episode, I was thinking of my kids growing up.
Mm-hmm.
I would much rather them have a tool like this, that kept them safe, and and my wife and family, that they have something like this that keeps them safe wherever they go. I love it, mate. You look like you lost a bit of weight. You've been doing a bit or not? Or is it just for the camera?
No, I mean, I've trying.
Yeah, you're looking good, mate.
It's a bit of a curveball you've just thrown me there.
Oh no, I was sat here thinking, he looks like he's lost a bit,
Tan
mate.
always helps after a holiday, doesn't it?
Yeah, and a haircut.
Yeah.
Actually.
You're just saying I looked poor before.
Oh,
I'm going to have to go back to episode 1, see what I really look like now.
Yeah, not great.
Great, thank you.
And you've worn white today, which is the first I've ever seen you in white, I think.
Thank you, mate.
No problem.
That's just because I wasn't allowed to wear my jacket.
Yeah, no problem. Guys, listen, thanks for joining in. Obviously, episodes going out, getting really, really good feedback from them.
Last one blew up.
Yeah, blew up massively. Richard Tobin,
that's actually something worth saying. That only went out, when did it go out?
Yesterday?
Monday. It's had thousands of views already. Richard messaged us yesterday thanking us because he's had a really overwhelming experience over the last couple of days. It's been received really well. He's had tons of support. He's also had people reaching out to him, saying that they may have issues and would like to chat to someone. So the ripple effect just from one episode shows me that this is going in the right direction. 100%. It's exactly why we do it.
It's exactly what we're trying to do. And what I would also like to say is, if you know someone or an organisation that you think would benefit from just a little bit of exposure, we absolutely tell us, and we will put our emails. We'll also put all the details for Imabi underneath and in our bio. And we will see you on episode 6.